Welcome to Kids Are Chefs, a cooking and talk show for teens and kids. I'm Alvin, the host of the show. We have an amazing show today, a great topic, and some amazing food. When I come back, we're going to introduce my guests and the panel. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Alvin, your host. So I have my guest here with me, so I'm going to introduce each one of these guys. We're here at the Wonderful Cooks Warehouse. In case you hear bells and chimes, we're live, so you know people are here shopping in this beautiful store, in this beautiful kitchen. So let me introduce you to my first guest, Mr. Christian.
Chef Christian here, 18 years old, senior high school, ready to graduate, class of 2020. Hey, y'all know what's going on.
Okay. And we have Miss Jana.
I'm Chef Jana. I'm 15 years old, sophomore, but I'm getting there.
You're getting there. And Miss Nivea.
I'm Nevia. I'm 16 years old. I'm class of 2020, ready to graduate as well.
All right. And listen, we have a special guest here today, Miss Diana George, and she's going to address the topic of sexual harassment in the workplace and just different things to kind of educate the kids about workplace things that they really need to know at an early age. Some of the kids are already working. Christian has a job already, and that's the reason why we're discussing this topic. So let me introduce you to Miss Diana George.
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you for having me. My name is Diana George, and I'm with By George HR Solutions, and I help employers transform employees into valuable resources. And so I'm excited to be here today to talk about this topic of sexual harassment in the workplace.
Thank you so much. We also want to talk a little bit about the Me Too movement as well, and I think Miss George can provide us all of the things we need to know. This is her profession, and we have a wonderful meal today, a healthy meal. My favorite. We are having, they're called meatless meatballs. We have a meatless barbecue meatball subs. Said that kind of tongue twister, you know what I'm saying? But we having meatless meatball subs, and we having chips, and we having a fruit dish. All right. So we're gonna get ready and get prepared with the meal, and we'll be right back. All right, y'all, welcome back. We're going to get started on these wonderful, amazing, I'm telling you, these meatballs are really good. They're meatless, no meat. This is a plant-based type of meal we're making today, all right? So we're making meatless meatball subs, all right? So what you're going to do first is you're going to split these up. I'm going to let the ladies split these up and put them in the pan. This is a non-stick pan. You want to use a non-stick pan, that way you don't have to use no oil, all right? Y'all got this. You can make this after school every day, all right? Real quick, all right? You put it up. Put your meat in, put your barbecue sauce, and let it cook for 15 minutes, and you straight, all right? That's how you make that, all right? Y'all making a fruit dish. Do you need some instructions on that?
Just maybe.
Yeah, all you got. All you do is cutting up the strawberries. You put them in there, and then we're gonna have that with the subs, the chips, and the berries, and the fruit dish. All right. All right. So y'all gonna get started. Cut this up.
Okay, so Miss Diane, what would you use to define sexual harassment?
That's a great question. And so it's really unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors itself, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. And so I think the key word here is anything that's unwelcome and that would make somebody feel uncomfortable within their environment itself. Well, can I share a story with you? And really, this is personal for me because when I was actually in high school myself, a senior in high school, I was in a work-study program, and while I was at work, I experienced this in the organization that I work with, and unfortunately, I really didn't know how to handle it, and so I really became very distant, and as a result of being very distant itself, people noticed. And they actually came to me and wanted to know what was going on. And when I told them what was going on, they literally moved me out of the area that I was in. And they put me someplace else. But what I realized is that they really didn't handle the situation because they moved somebody else into the position that I was in. And what I realized later on is that it was never really handled. It was just kind of brushed over. And so for me, that was a major thing that I realized we need to do differently in the future. But I also realized that I didn't know how to handle the situation. And because I didn't know how to handle the situation, I wasn't sure of myself. I felt very uncomfortable during that time frame, and I really didn't do what I would think would be the right thing. And not that I didn't have backup or support, because I knew that I had parents that truly cared about me, but it was really because I really didn't know how to handle it or do something about it itself. And so that always stuck with me, and I want to make sure that going forward that other people had solutions and they really knew what to do itself. And I second guessed myself, especially as a woman, as a female during that time frame, and thought that I maybe did something to cause this. And so as a result, I really didn't really say anything about it.
So what would you say is the biggest problem that people don't know to prevent sexual harassment?
Sometimes they don't know what it looks like. And so there could be so many different signs itself. It could be the verbal signs itself, and those could be very subtle, and sometimes it's those subtle things that you don't recognize or realize is sexual harassment. But over a period of time, it will continue to get worse. And so really when you see something, it's about saying something at that moment, and we all have these internal barometers. We know when we feel uncomfortable. And so sometimes we dismiss it, and the key is not to dismiss it. It's okay. And if something is going on and you feel uncomfortable, having the right conversations with the right people. And sometimes that means confronting the situation, which is sometimes a very hard topic to talk about and to literally confront and have the conversations about.
So what would you say that the hardest part of what you do is?
The hardest part of what I do is, I think you deal with so many people, and I love human resources. I love what it is that I do, but when you don't have enough people that understand the importance of it. This subject that we're talking about right now, we have heard so much about it the last couple of years in so many different industries. You're talking about corporate, you're talking about entertainment, we've seen it happen in universities and schools and all over, and yet we're not talking about what the solutions are for this. And for me, that's a little frustrating, because it is about preventive training. It's about preventive education. And when you have that there, people understand what it looks like. So when they really see it, they know, and they can do something different about it. And so that's a little frustrating for me, and it has to come from the top down. When you're in an organization, it doesn't matter where you are, you have to get that support from the top down. And so human resources individuals certainly are the individuals in most organizations that you would go to itself, and they're the ones that should be supporting and helping. And we need to make sure that that is happening, but it's something that everybody feels comfortable to talk about. And there's a sense of transparency about it, so that when something has happened, there are solutions and effective solutions, and it doesn't get to sexual harassment. Okay,
So do you think that with the kids, so some of these kids are getting ready to go to high school, in high school, and Kristen has a job already, Jana will be working at some point, and then Nevy's going to be working at some point. So do you think sexual harassment is just important with teens as it is? Because a lot of times they won't say anything. And so would you encourage them? What should they do if they're dealing with it in school and don't know what to say or how to deal with it?
Right. So, and that's an important thing, and I think everybody should have a voice. I mean, I think one of the reasons that we have so many people stepping forward right now in the Me Too movement is because now they're feeling a little bit more comfortable to talk about it, because a lot of times when something like this happens, you think, oh, this is just happening to me. I'm the only one.
Right.
But if you realize that you have the support and that it's happening to other people and you have someone to go to, you don't feel like you have to keep this inside. And so factually, if you can stop something from the very beginnings, like that first time that someone says something to you and it makes you kind of feel a little bit weird, and you can handle it then guess what? It won't get to sexual harassment. So I have this thing that I tell everybody: the things that you tolerate, you encourage.
Right.
And so something is happening to you, and this is in all walks of life, and you tolerate it and you kind of dismiss it and don't say anything about it, then guess what? You've encouraged that to happen again.
Wow.
And so people will take that opportunity because now you've let them in just a little bit. And so now it's the next step. And that's what happens a lot of times with sexual harassment. It doesn't happen overnight. It's behavior that's been there over a period of time because nobody stopped the individual or told them that it wasn't okay. And so they've gotten away with it enough times. So now it's it's sexual harassment. But if we handle it earlier on, it's really about respect.
Listen, I know this looks, how does this look to you?
That
It
looks delicious.
It's not meat. We're going to put this in the oven really quick and let it cook for about 15 minutes. And in the meantime, once we put this up, we're going to move over and we're going to sit down and have some more conversation with you about the Me Too movement, sexual harassment, and different various areas of life. Not only just in school, we're talking about the entertainment area and all those kind of things. Some of these kids are up and coming stars already, so we're going to prepare them later, all right? So we're going to put this in the oven, and we come back, we're going to sit down and have a conversation, all right?
All right, looking forward to it.
All right, be right back.
If I were a bank owner,
That's a good question. If I were a bank owner, I'd give everyone free checking.
My bank would make my community stronger.
My bank would be all about the app.
I'd help young people like me build their credit.
Want better banking? Be an owner. Free checking, easy app, member owned. Delta Community Credit Union. Everything your bank should be.
All right, y'all, welcome back. We're going to start stuffing the these are wonderful meatless meatballs subs that we're going to have. And then we're going to take up where we left off at with Miss George, talking about sexual harassment and the Me Too movement with our wonderful panel guests here. So y'all go ahead on, start stuffing your subs and tell me what you think. This
looks delicious.
This is not meat. This is meatless, y'all. This is meat. This is plant-based. It's a healthy. That's what we try to do here at Kids and Show. We talk about healthy information and as well as have healthy food to go along with that information. Tell me what you think, because this is when
All right, so
y'all
I'm
start.
gonna. All right.
Yeah. Really good?
This is good.
Yes.
This is really good.
Yeah, I know it. That's my personal recipe. I did that. I came up with this recipe. It's my recipe.
So for people that don't know, what is the Me Too movement?
The Me Too movement was started by Tarana Burke years ago, and she was actually coming forward and saying that this had happened to her too. But it wasn't until I would say the last year and a half where it really has taken off, and it started with the entertainment industry and some things, the allegations that were there. And then from there, it just started really widespread because a lot of women at that time felt comfortable and had the courage to now come forward and say, I've experienced this also. And interesting enough, 81% of women experience sexual harassment in the workplace.
81%?
81% of women
So
experience that at some
Let
time.
me ask you something. So we were talking to the kids. A lot of kids are starting these new jobs, fast food seasonal jobs and stuff like that. Tell them, what does that look like? Like sometimes it's certain words you can say, and just because a young lady or a young man has on something, explain to the kids why certain things you can't say anymore the way it used to be, and that's the thing I think that gets them in trouble.
I say this, that we have to go back to just plain simple respect. And really treating people the way that we want to be treated. And I always like the phrase that Michelle Obama uses, that she says, when they go low, we go high. And so that means that we really need to have our own moral compass, and really that's what human resources does.
Right.
We're a moral compass, and if we take a look and everybody had that same moral compass and decisions and things that they do, we would be in a much better place off, and not only in the workplace but just in society itself. And so having the courage to say the things that need to be said, when you observe something that is not right itself, because even in the sexual harassment era, the Me Too movement, all these things that have happened, most of the time people have seen, they observe something, they've seen some type of indication in itself. So even if it wasn't happening to them, having the courage to be able to step forward and say, I observed something, I experienced something, or I've observed something that's not right. And I just want to applaud you because, I know you mentioned that you have experienced something and you've gone to management and had a conversation, and that's so important to do.
Did they resolve your situation when you went to the man?
Oh yes, most definitely.
So let me ask you something. So what words, so for instance, if Christian was in a situation where he said something to a young lady said something, or a young man said something to one of the ladies, what are some of the words that they know that you would tell them that they shouldn't say to other people so it wouldn't look or feel like sexual harassment? What, like, terms of endearments and stuff like that?
Baby, honey, things. And I have to be honest, in this new generation, I know there's a whole lot of terms right now that I'm not even familiar with. But some of those things that really doesn't give respect. And I tell you what, the thing that I always say to somebody, if you wouldn't say it to your mother, you shouldn't say it at all.
Amen.
Okay, that's a key thing. So if you have to think twice about it and you would not have that say it to your mother, then maybe it's probably not a good thing to say at all. And I think what we need to remember is work is a professional environment. And so we really need to keep it professional. And so I always say to people as I'm teaching and doing classes and educating, what does it have to do at work? If it really doesn't have anything to do at work, then maybe it's a conversation that really shouldn't be had or you shouldn't do itself. And so be very careful of that. And then also if you're asked to do something that you just don't feel comfortable with.
All right, y'all. We've had a great show. What did you think of the food?
Really
It's
good.
good. This is
You ate
delicious.
yours up already. Look at this.
Just
Already.
like me, just like me.
Yeah, listen, these chips are so good. Y'all gotta try these chips. These some of my favorite, but y'all gotta try these to go with the food. And then we had this fruit, take it on home with us. You have any final thoughts and tell people how to reach you in case they have any questions?
Sure. Final thoughts is it's a conversation that we need to have. It should be had, and everybody should be a part of the conversation itself. And so I'm very excited to be here today to talk about this. You can always reach me at www.bygeorge, that's bygeorgehr.com. You can send me anything at solutions@bygeorgehr.com. And I do have a gift for everyone here. There is a book, it's called The Way to Happiness. It's a common sense guide to better living. 21 precepts in here of how everyone can be happy and live a better life. And so that's my gift to you. And I hope that you use it, and I'm excited to be here. This is a wonderful format, and I'm so glad that you invited me here to have this conversation.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Y'all, we've had a great show today. The meal was wonderful. I'm telling y'all, plant-based is the way to go. I'm believing to this healthy thing. And thank you so much for watching Kids to Chefs. And I want to thank my sponsors, Aperture Rent, for making this happen. Delta Community Credit Union also. Thank you so much for all that you do for us. You all have a wonderful day, and always have a meal and a conversation.